Hello and welcome to Kitt Penfold Astrology. I am Kitt. Before I begin anything, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. This is only my fourth video on YouTube, and already I am feeling the love. I am just so appreciative for anything and everything that you do here, whether it's subscribing or liking or just viewing. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. Have I said how grateful I am for it? Yeah. I really can't wait to bring you more forecasts, more deep dives, more everything as we move forward, because this is what I love to do. I love presenting astrology to people in a way that hopefully supports their growth, supports them feeling like they're becoming the best version of themselves. And it always seems like that is surrounded by the idea that we are exactly where we are meant to be. When I found astrology and brought it into my life on a daily basis, and I started using journaling with my astrology, that is when I truly stepped into understanding who I was on a really deep level and started to accept and love that person that I was. So if any of my videos help you get even 1% closer to that feeling of self-acceptance, we're never done the journey. Like, I am not at all the person who can tout that I entirely embrace myself. God, no. I have so much self-doubt, you could fill the Grand Canyon with this shit. But this is the practice that has helped me the most. And I hope that something within my videos also supports you in that way. Today we are talking all about Sagittarius as a sign, where it is in your natal chart, what planets are about to come in, and how overall all of these details, pieces, themes, archetypes, delineations are coming together to mold the last part of 2025 and how all of this is setting us up for 2026. Sagittarius is a storyteller, and in true Sagittarius fashion, we are going to be watching a story arc come alive through the Mercury retrograde that we're all about to experience. Mercury has already had one conjunction to Mars, been part of the grand water trine. It's opposed Uranus. It's going to have a second conjunction with Mars right when it turns retrograde. It'll have another opposition to Uranus. It's going to have a cazimi with the sun back in Scorpio. And then when it eventually moves back forward again and comes back into Sagittarius, it's coming into a Sagittarius that has a ruler in retrograde, Jupiter, and also the sun, Mars, and Venus have then been in Sagittarius doing their own work for quite a while. If you already watched my weekly forecast, you know I already talk about the retrograde. And normally I wouldn't spend this much time on a Mercury retrograde. They happen all the time. It's a beautiful thing to watch this fast-moving planet slow down to a stop and then go backward for us to rethink and redefine and rework something just so that it can go back and start speeding up again. It's the fastest planet in our solar system. These retrogrades can be as easy as, oh, my computer froze this morning, or a call dropped, or I accidentally sent the text message to the wrong person, or I never sent it at all. This time around, Mercury is going through so much, and it's merging the themes of two different houses. Again, not something that is like the end of the world or something that we don't see very often, but there is something really potent changing in our lives or coming forward for us to look at in a very different way as we finish out 2025. Before we move forward, bring out your natal chart. Where do you have Sagittarius? Where do you have Scorpio? With all the action happening in Sagittarius over the next couple months, it's going to be Sagittarius risings, or if you have your ascendant in Sagittarius, you'll be affected the most, or if you are a mutable sign. So that could be Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces. You'll be having these aspects hitting you from a square or an opposition or in your house itself if you are a Sagittarius ascendant. This will also affect you if you have your sun in Sagittarius, or any other of the core planets. This is why I love to dig into one sign so that if you have your natal chart in front of you, you can really see when and where things are going to be hitting you. If you don't have a natal chart and you don't know what your ascendant is, head over to Astro because you can find that for free over there. Or if you want to dig into it on a mini level, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro reading, which is just 20 minutes delivered to your inbox as a pre-recorded video, specifically looking at your natal chart. And you can ask any questions you like what's happening in Sagittarius. Or if you want to have a full conversation with me about what's happening in your natal chart over the last bit of this year, I also have full-length readings available. Lastly, before we begin, you will find all rising sign horoscopes at the end of this video. They're just little mini tidbits as to where this is hitting you and when. If you have a friend and you happen to know where their ascendant is or what rising sign they are, send them that part of the video to see if it lines up with what they're going through. Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign ruled by Jupiter. Right now, Jupiter is in Cancer and it's in its exaltation in that sign. But Jupiter right now is slowing down and about to station before its retrograde. Right now it's moving so slow that it's literally like 1 minute a day as it goes down to then be able to move backward. When I mention that a sign is ruled by a planet, what it means is that whatever other planets come around the wheel and come into that sign or house, they are being hosted by Jupiter. Jupiter is the owner of the Airbnb that they are coming to stay in. Some planets do not have fun having Jupiter as their B&B host. They can't really take being expanded. They can't really take being brought all of this wisdom and bigger thinking. Whereas other planets absolutely love being in Jupiter's little beachside cottage with the breeze flowing through and everything at your fingertips to be able to dream of this bigger future. I love the symbol of Sagittarius. It's a centaur. It is a mythical being, half horse, half human, and it's holding a bow and arrow outstretched nice and tight. This symbolizes the merging of animal and human. It merges that earth feeling and also spiritual aspiration. With the arrow drawn nice and tight, about to let go, it talks about seeking higher wisdom of dreams and goals. Sagittarius represents beliefs, the horizon, expansion, philosophy, being on a journey. It wants meaning, truth, traveling, just exploration. Sagittarius really likes the wider point of view, the overall, the big vision, instead of the kind of minutia that sometimes we need to be able to get to that bigger place, which is again why some planets have a bit of a difficult time here because they need to focus on the little stuff, whereas Sag is like, woo, let's look at the big picture. Let's go all in. And in your natal chart, where you have Sagittarius will represent where you want that expansion and where you have bigger dreams and bigger goals. So let's have a look at what planets are transiting Sagittarius in November and December. First, let's start with this morning. It is October 29th, and at 6:02 a.m. Central Time, Mercury came into Sagittarius. Mercury is a very fast-moving planet, and at this point it is starting to slow down quite a bit because it's going to station retrograde at around 6 degrees. If you'd like to know more of those dates and a bit more of a deep dive on all of that stuff, check out the weekly forecast video that I put out a few days ago. I go very technical on this stuff, and I will be doing that again as we move closer to the actual Mercury retrograde. Mercury stations retrograde and moves out of Sagittarius on November 20th, where it will continue its retrograde to 20 degrees of Scorpio, returning back into Sagittarius on December 11th. Technically, at this point, Mercury is direct, but it's still in its shadow period and will need time to pass 6 degrees before it is fully out of this retrograde cycle. On November 4th at 7 a.m. Central Time, Mars will come into Sagittarius, and it's slowly now creating this conjunction, which will be the second time that these two planets have met up. On November 21st in the evening, the Sun comes into Sagittarius, and that will be happy birthday to all people that are Sagittarius suns. The Sun will have just had a new moon in Scorpio, and at the same time it was creating a cazimi with Mercury, which is again this major story arc that's happening for Mercury at this time. Second to last, Venus will be entering Sagittarius on November 30th, and then, as I said at the very beginning, Mercury will be the last one coming through, leaving Scorpio completely empty for quite a while and creating a stellium of planets in Sagittarius. Back to this story arc. Whilst Mercury is doing its first bit of retrograde back through Sagittarius from 6 degrees into Scorpio and then comes back forward again direct, within that time, we are going to be noticing a lot of change, a lot of growth, and a lot of slowdown in an area where Mars might be telling us we have to move forward. Or Sagittarius is making us feel as though we want to reach our goals. But Mercury is asking us to slow things down a little bit instead of taking that massive, expansive view, instead of saying the massive, expansive thing just yet, because there's a situation either within you or in the world around you which is asking for a little more time to be able to know exactly how to move forward at the end of November. Again, bring out your natal chart. Do you have any planets or points within the first 6 degrees of Sagittarius? If so, which ones? What do they mean? And what will it mean when Mars and Mercury traverse over them, and then Mercury will go backward and then come back forward over top of them? 3 times asking for that kind of intellectual cognitive understanding within your natal chart, wherever you have Sagittarius and whatever planets you happen to have in this area. Mercury has been fired up by Mars. It has been supported by a grand water trine. It has been talking about the long term being in trine with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, which are both retrograde. It then, before it comes back into Sagittarius, it's going to have a cazimi with the sun, which means that it goes behind the sun in the sky, which in traditional astrology is being burned at the heart of the sun, losing power as it is burned and coming out the other side of the sun renewed with a new idea, with a clearer vision as to what it is that you may have been mulling over before that point. These aren't the easiest themes to be working with because we're all right now, we are tired. We have been traversing up a mountain, Everest. It's been cold. We don't have much food left. I made this analogy weeks ago, but this is a major moment for us to take something that has been asking for change or that maybe you've been feeling is not quite right. And it's this point that we are starting to gain the clarity that means that once Mercury is out of that 6 degree shadow period in Sagittarius, once it comes back direct, you can then move forward with greater clarity. With Mars being at the anaretic degrees of Sagittarius, there might be major moves that you are finally able to take forward. So with any of you with planets and points in Sagittarius, this is going to be a major focal point over the next few weeks. Let's move into the all signs horoscopes. These are just going to be short snippets for each rising sign, and I do ask that you watch for your rising sign first. By all means, I'm a Sagittarius sun, so I'm definitely going to be looking at my sun sign as well. But it really is imperative that you look for your rising sign, because your rising sign dictates where Sagittarius is then in your chart. If you're a Sag rising, obviously it's your first house and it's you, yourself, your identity. So once you've watched for your rising sign, feel free to watch for your sun, your moon, your Venus, whatever floats your boat. But I do just ask that you start with your rising sign, because that's where I'm coming from when I'm putting together these horoscopes. Hello, Aries Rising. Sagittarius is your 9th house of philosophy, beliefs, higher learning, being a guru, finding a guru, perhaps long distance travel. If you have planets or points here, your worldview may be shifting or expanding within their scope. This is a time of new direction, your beliefs being changed, perhaps you being able to put words to your beliefs or philosophy that you haven't been able to before. Or you're finding yourself moving into an era where you really want to educate yourself differently, or you want to start sharing your wisdom with others. Mercury, Mars, the Sun, and Venus soon will be moving from your 8th house, this house of death, rebirth, transformation, and quite a hidden house, into this open and expansive house where your thoughts and your goals can really shine. Mercury is going to be finding clarity in your 8th house over the next couple months, where it is going to be able to look at shared finances, maybe karmic relationship, karmic contracts with other people, and that will then change it and allow it to come forward into your 9th house with a renewed or new sense of direction as it moves forward. I'd really love to look into this with you. So head over to my website and have a look at the mini inbox Astro offering. In 20 minutes, we could really dive into what you happen to have in your 9th house and how the last couple months of this year are going to look for you. Thanks, Aries. Hello, Taurus. Sagittarius is your 8th house, which is a very hidden house. Shared resources, shared finances, karmic contracts, trust, death, rebirth, transformative processes happening here. Planets here in Sagittarius can represent a personal transformation journey in your lifetime. Mercury is going to be crossing between your 7th house of partnerships, relationships, and agreements into your 8th house today, and then going to be moving back there to be able to relearn or redefine something within relationship that's going to really change that ability to go deeper and be maybe more vulnerable with the people that you share these like most vulnerable pieces with. You may find that old patterns within shared finances or intimacy may be evolving at this time, or the way that you can voice what it is that you want, how it is that you are changing. If you'd like to dive a little bit deeper into these two houses and how Mercury retrograde and how Sagittarius season might look for you, if you have planets or points in Sagittarius, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro reading, because in that short amount of time, in 20 minutes, we can really dive in with your natal chart to see how this time is affecting you. Thanks, Taurus. Hello, Gemini. Sagittarius is your 7th house of committed relationships, partnerships, business partnerships. If you have any planets or points in the 7th house, they will all speak to the way that you relate to others and the way that then that reflects back to you in your 1st house. Mercury has been traveling through Scorpio as well as Mars and the Sun, and soon to be Venus in Scorpio, asking you to have a real look at the way that you do your daily grind, the way that you nurture yourself, your body, the way you take care of your health. And with it spanning between these two houses of the 7th of relationship and then the 6th of you, your work, your body, and your health, I would imagine that there's going to be some great clarity coming forward around the way that your needs maybe become easier to communicate with other as you move forward in this time. This could allow new truths and new connections to really expand that Sagittarius energy. Really have a look at what you have in Sagittarius, if anything, to see what else these planets, Mars, Mercury, the Sun, Venus, as they move forward, what they're going to be hitting in your chart, because that is all going to make this super personal to you. And if you'd like me to have a look at your natal chart, head over to my website and grab the mini inbox Astro reading, because then I can give you a quick 20-minute little delineation of how this rest of the year might be affecting you. Thank you, Gemini. Hello, Cancer. Sagittarius is your 6th house of work, your health, your daily grind, and your rituals. Mercury and Mars and the Sun have been spending time in your 5th house of joy, creativity, children, and Mercury is going to be spanning the 2 with its retrograde. So what planets or points do you have in Sagittarius? Because that is really going to show, especially if you have any before 6 degrees of Sagittarius, because that's really going to show where this Mercury retrograde and the Mars conjunction is going to be hitting you the most. When Mercury comes back into Scorpio for you and has its Mercury Cazimi moment and even just the retrograde moment, I feel as though creativity and joy is going to be speaking to you on a really loud level as to how you can best bring those practices forward for better rituals, better habits in taking care of yourself, which will then help you be able to go to your work, your daily grind with a real different sense of the word, and perhaps then allow your health to become better and better because you're listening to what brings you joy, because you are starting to be able to vocalize to others or even to yourself how it is that you want to move forward, nurturing yourself and finding creativity. If you'd like me to have a look at what your natal chart looks like within the next couple months, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro. With that 20-minute reading, I can send you a real great outline of how the next couple months are going to be happening and what kind of themes you might want to look out for. Thank you, Cancer. Hello, Leo risings. Sagittarius is your 5th house of joy, creativity, children, romance. And if you have planets or points in this house, especially within those first 6 degrees where Mars and Mercury are going to be hitting right here in their conjunction and then Mercury moving back, this is going to be affecting you a lot within those themes. You may be asking yourself some real big questions around how do you find joy? How do you find a sense of creativity that maybe Mars is saying, I want out, I want to be able to express myself. But at the same time, Mercury being retrograde is either asking for you to pause before you express all of these things, or you might be busting at the seams and saying some things before you're kind of ready to. With Mercury heading back and having a Cazimi here in Scorpio in your 4th house of home, ancestry, your roots, your parents, this is a real quiet inner place for you. Planets in your 5th house of Sagittarius really talk about desire and boldness and creative growth. But with Mercury traveling back into your 4th house of home, ancestry, your roots, your parents, I would think that there is an inner moment, a quiet, more hidden moment that might be coming up for you to be reassessed. You're going to be coming into Sagittarius with a new kind of inner strength to be able to create, to be able to find that kind of inner home stability that one needs to be able to spread and express the ideas that they have, or with Sagittarius, the big, bold ideas that you may have. If you'd like me to have a look for you in where this is happening in your natal chart, or what planets or points are going to be illuminated within this retrograde and Mars coming through and Sagittarius season, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro reading, because in just 20 minutes, I can really dive in to what these last couple months of the year might feel like for you. Thank you, Leo. Virgo Rising, hello. You have Sagittarius as your fourth house of parents, roots, ancestry, your home. And kind of it could even be kind of an inner home. So the home that you find within yourself. If you have planets or points in your fourth house of Sagittarius, this could really draw focus to your living situation or inner stability or relationship with your family, your parents for sure, or your ancestry farther back, other generations. This could be bringing up big questions around your roots or belonging, especially if you have planets or points in these first 6 degrees of Sagittarius. So where Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde and also where this conjunction is happening, you may feel like you're kind of maybe ready to burst or ready to express major new ideas or things that you have thought of up to this point to family, to the people around you, or you're finding them coming up to be seen within yourself. But just slow down and take a minute here, because when Mercury goes retrograde back into your third house of siblings, your community, your voice, your education, you may find that in the Cazimi, there is a clarity that comes to Mercury where you're understanding something that you've learned, perhaps something that's happening within your siblings or your nearby community, your neighbors. And that is then reestablishing what you want from this fourth house, what is going to allow you to have the most stability as you move forward into 2026. If you'd like me to have a look at what's happening in your natal chart over the next couple months, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro reading, because just in those 20 minutes, I'm able to really dig into what natal planets you have in Sagittarius and Scorpio and be able to look at what possibly the next couple months are going to feel like for you. Thank you, Virgo. Hello, Libra Rising. So Sagittarius is your third house. Siblings, your near community or your neighbors, communication, sometimes like a website or a blog, writing, or near close distance travel, places that you can go just in your car in a day. And you may be finding as Mercury and Mars come in, if you have any planets or points within 6 degrees of Sagittarius, this is really going to be stirring up some change and some new activation for you around how you want to communicate what you are communicating, especially with the fact that this retrograde is merging themes of your second house, which is your finances, your resources, your self-worth, and bringing them into the third house. So what has been happening for you as Mercury has been moving through Scorpio in the last few weeks, meeting with Mars here, having a grand trine here, and then moving in the next few weeks back into Sagittarius, where you're going to feel more clarity, perhaps expressing a new way that you want to create resources, maybe the way that you want to find a more solid foundation in your income or your self-worth is the way that you're going to communicate with yourself. But if you feel in the meantime like you just want to put it out there, that you just want to say the thing, If you can, maybe bring pause to this moment so that Mercury can go through its full retrograde period, so that when you come out the other side in Sagittarius, you're able to move forward with all of that kind of expansive communication and expansive ideas when it comes to these third house themes. If you'd like me to have a look at where this is happening in your natal chart, head over to my site and grab a mini inbox Astro reading or a full reading. And I would love to dig in if you have planets or points in Scorpio or Sagittarius. I'd love to dig into where and how this may be showing up for you in your life. Thank you, Libra. Hello, Scorpio Rising. How has the last few weeks been for you? Comment below if you are a Scorpio Rising and you've just been going through it, especially with everything having been in your 12th house before this point, before they all moved into Scorpio. You have Sagittarius as your second house of finances, resources, and self-worth. And if you have any planets or points here in this house, especially at 6 degrees or earlier, this whole retrograde and conjunction with Mars and the activation of Sagittarius as a whole as we move into Sag season is really going to be lighting up those themes of your finances, of your resources. And so when Mercury and Mars have their conjunction here, it may be feeling like you really just want to take action when it comes to your income, or when it comes to like taking on your self-worth in a whole different way, or you have a new idea that comes forward. Mars is activating all of this after having just been in Scorpio, where it loves being, Mars loves being in Scorpio, that is its home. Now it's in Sagittarius, where like Sagittarius is the biggest ideas and the biggest and like the expansion, and Mars being here can really make things big. So before you jump too quickly, and if you're able to, take this time of the Mercury retrograde to take a pause, to be able to think about things a little longer. Allow Mercury to go back into your first house and have this cazimi here, because this is all merging themes of you, yourself, your identity, and how you're moving forward in this Sagittarius resource, finance, and self-worth piece. Mercury might be really coming up with some clarity when it goes through the cazimi point and then moves back into Sagittarius as to who you are and how you're willing to now move forward as this person who has just gone through grand water trines in your first house, Mars Mercury conjunction, the first one, and just having the sun in Scorpio for such a wonderful long time every year. Things are being illuminated. And so if you can possibly pause over the next few weeks whilst Mercury does this retrograde and then comes back forward direct into Sagittarius, you're going to then be able to move forward with these new ideas, with the new communication and intellect around how you want to be seen, how you want to dedicate yourself maybe to creating resource in a new way. And that is going to stick at that point. That is going to be able to be put into motion. Whereas if you try to do it before that point, there's a really good chance that you might have to redo it, or it may kind of fall flat until the retrograde is over, in which case you can start building this. If you would like me to have a look at your natal chart and how this is all going to be affecting you over the next couple of months, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro reading, because in just 20 minutes, we can look into so much. And if you'd like a full conversation with me, then book a full-length reading, because we can go deep on the fact that you have just had yourself, your identity lit up over the last few weeks. And now, as everything starts moving forward, this is life itself moving forward after you yourself has been illuminated. Things have come out of the shadows. So thank you, Scorpio. Sagittarius. This is your first house of self, of your identity. This is also a house of health. So How has it felt to have so much being activated in your 12th house over the last few weeks? And now that Mercury is moving into your first house, you may be kind of noticing that you're like feeling like you're ready to speak and ready to run. But just if you can, give it a moment. This conjunction with Mars is going to probably make that feeling even more intense, that you want to move forward now. But just let Mercury do this retrograde back into Scorpio. Especially if you have planets or points in your first house. So obviously your ascendant is here. If your ascendant is anywhere from 6 degrees or earlier, that's really going to light up this time for you. And you're probably going to feel a lot of like angst, action, instigation, like on the biggest level, on the like, I want to make big goals and big dreams level. But if you can, all of these planets have just come through your 12th house where your inner world has been asked to be looked at with kind of a magnifying glass. You may have even had things come up that you didn't even know were there. And though everything is moving forward into your first, where you can kind of start implementing all of this, if it's possible, wait for this Mercury to go back in and have this cazimi with the sun at the anaretic degrees. And also it's the new moon at the anaretic degrees here of Scorpio, and allow Mercury to then come forward into your first house and pass that 6-degree point. Because this means that whatever action or communication that you take or have at that point, it's going to stick around. It's something that's going to embed itself in your identity. Whereas if you do it before that point, there's a good chance you might have to redo it, re-say it if it's with a person. And this is all greatly going to change you because it'll be Sagittarius season at that point. Mars is going to be here. Venus is eventually going to be here. There's so much action coming up for your first house. And so if you can really take care of yourself as Mercury goes retrograde and you have these kind of clarifying moments within it before it moves back forward direct into your first house, it's really going to support you on your journey forward from this point into 2026. If you would like for me to have a look at your natal chart, maybe you have like major planets in Scorpio or major planets in Sagittarius, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox astro reading if you just want a quick 20-minute deep dive sent to you of what your chart looks like over what's happening over the next couple months. Or if you would rather a conversation with me, head over there and grab a full-length reading because within 60 minutes and 90 minutes, we can do some damage. I mean, I could look at a chart for months and still not come to the end of it all. But yeah, for you as a Sag rising, this is a big moment for you. This is a big part of your identity being shifted. And this is exciting. Give yourself lots of love and lots of nourishment as everything completes in your 12th house. And thank you, Sagittarius. Hello, Capricorn Rising. Sagittarius is your 12th house, your hidden self, the hidden aspects of you, kind of inner psyche. It's also where you go to retreat and have reflection. Any planets or points here could activate like your internal process, how it is that you go inward when you are needing time, or the way that perhaps your inner world speaks to you. What's going on here kind of talks to an inner preparation before everything moves forward into your first house of self. Mercury is moving from your 11th house, Scorpio, where community, friends, hopes, and dreams are brought to the forefront, even though this is on a scorpionic level and this is a water sign. Scorpio is a water sign. So some real uprooting and up-leveling of the community that you have around you may have been happening over the last while, especially with the grand water trines. If you feel like you are ready to kind of bust out, especially when Mars comes in here and you have a conjunction. Maybe your inner world is just like asking to be seen, or you feel like you have some real work that you want to put into place when it comes to respecting or nourishing or finding love and care for your inner, your reflective space, your, if you do tarot, like the Hermit card, hermiting and allowing yourself time to reset and rejuvenate. Perhaps watch what Mercury is doing over the next few weeks, especially when it has that Cazimi moment with the sun in your 11th house. There is major clarity coming from maybe conversations you're having or what you're watching your community do, which then is going to set, I think, this process in motion where you are going to be taking some time to really think about what it is that you want in friendships, in relationships, in relationship with yourself moving forward once Mercury has finished this retrograde and once all of these planets move forward into Capricorn and it is then Capricorn season. This can be really meaningful inner work. So don't skip over it if it just feels better to like pretend this isn't happening and just like put your head down and get to work again. This is a moment where you really could be getting called to go inward around some subject to do with your community or your friendships or your goals that you have moving forward. And believe me, if this work doesn't get done and everything comes forward into Capricorn and starts moving forward in a couple months' time, it probably is going to mean that you might have to go through this whole cycle again. So especially for you Capricorns, with this lighting up your 12th house as like much of a juxtaposition as that is, light in the dark, coming from a dark, deep processing, emotional, intuitive sign like Scorpio, allow this time through, really care for yourself through this, because if you can do the work, if you can listen to what Mercury is calling forward from everything that you're seeing in your friendships and your community at this time, you're really going to come forward into Capricorn season with just like an entirely new perspective on life. And maybe you already feel it coming forward, but just give it some time, because my goodness, once Mars comes into Capricorn and the sun comes into Capricorn, this is going to be activating some serious self-strength and power within you that is just like up-leveled from places that you may have felt yourself being before. If you'd like me to have a look at how this is all playing out for you into the future, head over to my website and grab a mini inbox Astro reading. It's super easy on the wallet, and it also can give you like 20 minutes of dedicated time where I am talking about how the transit in the sky is really affecting you. And so it would be just such a huge joy to be able to read for you and see where this is happening, especially if you have a lot of planets or points in Sagittarius or Scorpio. Thank you, Capricorn. Aquarius Rising. Welcome. How have you been feeling? Sagittarius is your 11th house of hopes, dreams, your community and friendships. And if you have any planets or points from 6 degrees and earlier, what's happening right now is really going to shift the way that you may think or process or communicate moving forward. Now, with Mercury having this Cazimi moment back here when it's goes retrograde back into Scorpio. And if you want to know those dates, go back to the beginning part of this video because I list all of them there. Mercury's retrograde is really tying together the themes of your 10th house, which is your career and public facing life, and your 11th, so friends, community. If you're like an entrepreneur and you put yourself out there quite a bit of your own volition, this could be the community that you're speaking to from your career. And so something is really shifting and expanding when it comes to that community, maybe that you're speaking to, or a community or friend group, or hopes that are really affecting your career. And so when Mars and Mercury have their conjunction here in your 11th, it may feel like you are just so ready to speak, so ready to say something, or so ready to put something in motion. But maybe if you can, pause and allow Mercury to retrograde back into Scorpio, into your 10th house. Have that Cazimi moment with the sun here at the anaretic degrees, the last degrees, and have this new moon. Because then when Mercury moves forward again into your 11th, you are coming forward with some serious clarity. And I am talking to myself here because I am an Aquarius rising. I know that if you can wait to put these things in place, or to, put them out to the total public, you can work on them maybe behind the scenes. It's something that is going to stick around for the long term, for the long haul. It will be integrated rather than maybe like put out really fast and really sporadically and then had to like be redone or rethought, etc. So if you'd love a personal look at how these transits are going to be affecting you in your natal chart, head over to my website and grab the mini inbox Astro reading. That is going to be 20 minutes of me. I can just focus straight on Sagittarius if you want, if you have planets or points there, or you can tell me whatever it is that you want me to focus on. Or if you want an actual conversation about your chart, head over and grab a full-length reading, because in that hour or 90 minutes, we can go deep on what the rest of the year looks like for you going into 2026. Thank you so much, Aquarius. Beautiful Pisces, you have Sagittarius in your 10th house of career and public facing life. And if you have any planets or points in this house, especially 6 degrees and earlier, you are really going to be getting lit up over the next couple months with the conjunction of Mars and Mercury, and also just the entire Mercury retrograde. So if you feel as though there's a point within your career where you just you have these ideas and you want to put them out there, you want to put a new product in place, and yet maybe you know that it's a bit too rushed or that all the pieces aren't in place yet. And if you can, pause, slow down, and let Mercury do its thing, coming back into your 9th house of philosophy, your belief systems, your higher education, maybe long distance travel. Maybe there's something that has to happen over the next couple of months with Mercury going back into your 9th and having that Cazimi with the sun and in the new moon happening right at the anaretic degrees of Scorpio. There's something here where you are gaining clarity when it comes to your beliefs, when it comes to perhaps that little bit more of education or the learning about how you want to speak to others about what you have to give education on before coming into your 10th house of career and putting it all into play. This is kind of going from reflection into drive and putting it out there in a major kind of the public life kind of way. So if you're able to pause through this and allow these messages to come through, allow this retrograde to speak to you the way that it's going to be speaking to all of us, that means that when Mercury comes back into Sagittarius, whatever you are implementing at that time, it's going to be for the long term. It can stick around and have a firm foundation. You may find that if you take action before this point, you have a change of belief all of a sudden over the next few weeks that completely unearths the work that you did, and then you got to redo it all over again. So if you'd like for me to have a look at your natal chart, whether you have planets or points in Sagittarius or in Scorpio, I would love to do a mini inbox Astro reading for you. It's 20 minutes delivered to your inbox. And in those 20 minutes, I would be able to just really hone in on those pieces and let you know how the next few months are gonna go. I would just love to dive into all of this with you because it's all setting us up for a remarkable 2026. If you've made it to the outro, thank you again for being here. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with whoever you think would like to know about where Sagittarius is in their chart and how the planetary movements over the next couple months are going to be affecting them. Right now, you are listening to one of my songs. It's called Housecoat. I produced this whole album during COVID, and I am just so joyful to be able to bring my music into these videos. So if you feel like listening to a new album, head over to Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you enjoy streaming your music. Also, I am on Instagram at Kitt Penfold Astrology. I'll see you on Sunday for another weekly forecast, and until then, have a wonderful week and sending you so much love.
Won't even touch me. It's only my wardrobe keeping me safe. I'll stay here in my house.